To bring on Dave Meluni to talk about the NIL Summit. Dave is a professor in the Department of Sport Management in the Falk College up at Syracuse University, and a really exciting event going on this Friday up on the Hill, an NIL Summit. Dave, always great to chat with you. How are you today?
Great. I've been listening to you guys for the last hour. Probably have a million opinions, but we'll chat Summit for right now.
All right. Well, you can share with us some of those opinions on the back end of this interview. But let's start with the Summit. And first and foremost, where did this idea come from? Why was it necessary to have something like this?
Yeah, a little bit. You guys have been talking about the $20.5 million from the settlement that's going to ironically be settled on the day of the national championship, April 7th. So then Syracuse and every Power 4 school will have pool pay, which they're going to be able to pay their athletes. So it was kind of a brainchild of mine to sort of bring our students with student athletes in athletics to say, listen, there's opportunities outside of what Syracuse is going to do from the standpoint of their pool pay. So let me be just very clear. We're looking at this from a branding side and athlete marketability. So we want to bring Learfield sponsors. We want to bring other sort of businesses in the community to meet our student athletes from football to basketball to field hockey to women's hockey. And how do you sort of bridge that $20.5 million from basically supplementing that, Steve, with corporate local businesses activating student athletes' marketability?
All right. So for those who attend the summit on Friday, what can they expect?
Yeah, so what they're going to expect is we have been lucky enough to partner with Rachel Brown. She's of Gen Agency. She's their CEO out of California. She's initially from Baldwinsville. She'll be coming into town, and she's actually going to activate two brand deals, one with W Brand, which is Jake Paul's personal care line that it's sold in Walmart, and the second is J Lab, which is in-ear and over-the-ear headphones. She's going to activate those deals with student athletes. She's going to show our students how you do that via Instagram. We're going to do a meet and greet that we've had a good number of corporate partners of Syracuse Athletics have already RSVP'd to meet our student athletes and hopefully forge some sort of relationship. And then the cool part about this is Coach Fran Brown talked about this past week. We have Morgan Stanley that's coming into town to do a fiscal responsibility session during the summit as well.
All right. I know you're very much an expert in this area of NIL. What would be, and you could probably teach you teach a semester-long class on this, so I'm not expecting you to go too in-depth, but if you could give an incoming freshman or maybe a transfer from a lower-level college who's coming up and playing Power 5, basketball or football, if you could give that student-athlete one piece of advice about NIL, coming into it, not really knowing much about it, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, the one piece of advice that I would give is let us get to know you in the community by turning on your likes and comments on social media, using your imagery on social media of where you're from. And candidly, you're allowed on your social media platform to be in your Syracuse uniform. There's too many student athletes across the country that as soon as you go on, Derek Queen from Maryland, you go to his Instagram account, you don't even know in his bio that he plays basketball at Maryland. That's the number one thing. Introduce yourself to the community regardless of what sport you play.
And I think that there's this idea out there that, a blue-collar town like Syracuse can't compete in the NIL space, and there's just not enough money here, and so on and so forth. I guess, can you speak to the opportunities that do exist in this town if the student athletes, go out and show face and get involved in the community and are here for a little bit? There are opportunities out there, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Paulie talked about it in the last hour of return on investment. The easiest way I can get a return on investment if I'm a local bank, if I'm a car dealership, right? Look at Josh Allen in the Buffalo market. Josh Allen is a lot more expensive than any of our athletes, and essentially all of our athletes are the Josh Allens of this community. So you can be out there, you can do meet and greets, you can do camps, you can do social media posts, you can do commercials. We've seen some brands and local companies activate that, but I think there's a lot more opportunity, and I think they'll see that return on investment.
How do you value players? When they're coming in, you don't know what their Instagram followers are and stuff. It will go up. But how do you value a player and let them know what they're worth?
Yeah, so Paulie, that's a great question. We're going to try to build their social media, and everything isn't about followers. But if you look at influencers and you look at student athletes right now, the engagement rate on their posts are super high. So we're looking at, hey, how do we position you? Like, let's give an example. Kyle McCord recently, he's got a partnership with Apex in the mall. They couldn't even do a meet and greet with Kyle McCord. They had to do signups because the number of signups was through the roof. Like, that is a clear reflection of true NIL, and I don't even want to get into pay for play because that's what the $20.5 million essentially is. So it's evaluating yourself, how you're an influencer, and then just building that brand, doing podcasts, doing camps. Kate DeRazio, she's from Jamesville, DeWitt. She just did a deal with Romano Cars, and she's a softball player because she built that connection with that car dealership. That's really what true NIL is all about, but that's not what's talked about in the media.
I was just going to say, I love hearing stories like that because that's what it's supposed to be, right? That's
exactly.
Like you see JJ on a car ad, and you're like, all right, it makes a lot of sense. Went to Beeville, local kid. He's, now he's, trying to help that company sell cars. Like, that makes sense. The pay for play, I think, is what turns a lot of people off. When you look at how the money is just getting out of control with, you see what a quarterback commands in the portal these days. Do you think that there's any end in sight, or the market's going to be flooded with every school with this extra $20.5 million? It just seems like the price tag is going to keep going up and up and up for the star players. Do you see an end in sight? Will things get regulated at some point, and if so, how?
Well, Steve, just within the last couple hours, one of Lemoyne's opponents, St. Francis, announced that they're going to go to Division III. This really is a concern of mine, and they were just in the NCAA tournament for the men's basketball side, right? I'm really concerned with this. I'm really concerned from the standpoint of, let's just say, the Power Twos, the SEC and the Big Ten, and, where schools have to position themselves. Look at a school like Syracuse. When we talk about the $20.5 million, like, we're going to have to spend at least 75% on football. But then you have Rick Pitino and St. John's, and you have Creighton, that they could spend 10, 12, 15 million if they wanted to. So, like, there is a concern for me. I don't have any. If I had an answer, I'd live in the Bahamas because I'd be a millionaire. But I think every school is going to have to adapt. Paulie literally hit the nail on the head. To get back to where we need to be in men's basketball, folks, we got to spend 8 to 10. And if we're only internally going to spend 15%, or let's just say 20%, that's only $4 million. We have to offset this with corporate dollars. We need to try to be engaged in these special tournaments that we're playing in Vegas that's going to give us $1 million in NIL. And here's what I'll tell you. You cannot miss on any player. You can't.
I know you're saying you can't miss on any player, but when you're in a position like this, how do you retain players? That's the first question. It looks like Syracuse, just from watching, it looks like they're trying to retain a couple players. How does that go down?
Yeah, so Paulie, I know you guys talked about this magic number of like $3 million, but here's a sort of example. I'll give you the MAC with the AA, right? The Niagara and Siena. Out of the all-conference players, 8 of them are in the portal because there's a value to them. So I think we have to sort of marry this a little bit 2 ways. How are you going to manage, and we're talking about basketball. So how's Alex Klein going to manage the money from the house, the pool pay as the NCAA defines it, and then how are we going to look at corporate partner deals to get to that point? If an athlete does a really good partnership with a corporate partner, that corporate partner is going to renew either with that athlete or a new athlete. So I don't know if I answered your question, but Paulie, that's a huge challenge. So you guys have talked about what the 2 players are that you think is an initiative by the school to try to retain, which is super important.
All right. In regards to the NIL Summit, what are you hoping student athletes take away from it on Friday?
Yeah, I'm hoping that student athletes attend and understand that it doesn't matter the level, doesn't matter your performance. Syracuse University, and Steve, you know this because you're teaching as well, the exposure, you can walk in any airport and somebody will yell across, go orange, when they see an S on a hat or a sweatshirt.
No doubt.
I want every student athlete to be aware that we're trying to educate them and provide them an experience to possibly activate a deal. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, because at the end of the day, student-athlete experience is huge, especially in this day and age, because like the NCAA says, not everybody's going to go pro, but they're going to go pro in something. When that student-athlete leaves here, they're the crux of the donations that are giving back to the institution, and really hoping that these student-athletes understand and feel that they're all on a level playing field. And it's not just a revenue generating sport that we're providing the opportunity. We're trying to educate them and say, hey, you can make a few $1,000s if you're a softball player and you run a camp, but we need to educate you and teach you how to do that.
How far are we from multi-year contracts with these guys? Is that legal? And can you lock people up for more than 1 year?
Yeah, probably legal. I don't know. I mean, everything seems to be legal or illegal these days. And I think schools will try. There are some Big Ten schools that I've seen a little bit of leaked contracts. They're trying to sort of lock you up for a couple years. I'm not quite sure. But I know everybody's going to try to sort of sign an athlete on board to retain their rights. And then I don't even know. I don't even know what's permissible. I don't even think the NCAA knows what's permissible. There's so many lawsuits that they're getting slammed with right now. But I would think if anybody could, they would certainly try to get somebody locked up until their eligibility. Like basketball's tough because after 1 year you can leave. Who's going to limit Cooper Flagg and say, we're signing you a 2-year deal? He's not going to sign that.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And you're right. I mean, you said you're not even sure if the NCAA knows what's legal or illegal. That's part of the problem, right? That's a big part of the problem. All right, the NIL Summit, again, noon to 2:30 on Friday inside of Falk College at the Grant Auditorium. For student-athletes interested, is there any way, like, do they have to sign up in advance? Can they just show up? Anything else that people need to know about this?
Yeah, so it's exclusive for Syracuse student-athletes, but falk.syr.edu for businesses in the area. You don't have to be a corporate partner of Learfield. If you're interested in how you could be involved, you're going to park in Irving Garage. Steve, we're going to feed everybody. So you park in Irving Garage, walk across the bridge. You're going to go to Grand Auditorium in Falk College, noon to 2:30, and be cool to see how we're going to activate two brands, W brand that's sold in Walmart and J Labs. Be pretty cool, and hope everybody can attend.
All right, Dave.
I'm going to pretend I have like $5. $5. Go steal lunch.
That's something you would do.
Here's a $5 deal, buddy. Here.
You can't because it's 12 to 2:30, and we're tied up 12 to 2:30, so that messes up that plan. Dave, great stuff as always. Really insightful stuff coming from a fellow Ithaca College Bomber. So go Bombers! Thanks as always for coming on, Dave. Be well, and we'll talk soon. Good luck with the event Friday.
Thank you. Go Bombers.
All right, Dave Meluni joining us here on the program.
We should get an Orange Nation NIL deal for someone.
I mean, don't they kind of do that here already?
No,